Welcome to the WordPress beginner class from ostraining.com. I'm excited to have you here. My name is Topher, and I'll be your instructor and guide through this course. If you'd like to get to know a little more about me, you can see my profile here on WordPress.org. I've been a full-time WordPress developer since 2010, and you can see here that I have the plugin, translation, and core developer badges. I also have more than a dozen plugins published on WordPress.org. In this video, I'd like to tell you a little bit more about WordPress. WordPress is quite possibly the most powerful, flexible website builder in the world, and it's free. In this video series, I'm going to show you how to use it. Now, there's two different ways to use WordPress, and I'd like to clarify which one we're going to do right at the beginning. This is WordPress.org. This is where you can download WordPress and put it on your own website and use it that way. This is WordPress.com. WordPress.com allows you to sign up, log in, and you immediately have a blog, and you can start creating content right away. We're not going to be dealing with WordPress.com in this series. We're going to be dealing with your own downloaded version. Let's take a look at a few reasons why you should be using WordPress. WordPress powers more than 25% of the web. Out of the millions and millions, perhaps billions of websites, WordPress powers more than a quarter of them. That's simply incredible. But it doesn't just power little websites that no one cares about. It powers some really big names. The New York Times uses it for all of its blogs. The National Geographic uses it. Forbes uses it. And it's not just for news and blogs. You can use it for just about anything. WordPress was born in 2003, with 1.0 coming out in 2004, and it's had regular releases ever since. With so many people depending on it, it needs to be regularly maintained, with new features being built in on a regular basis. Let's do a quick recap here. WordPress powers more than 25% of the web, and it's behind some of the biggest sites on the web. The New York Times, National Geographic, Forbes, and Dole. Now, WordPress.org allows you to download WordPress software, but WordPress.com is a hosted blogging platform. And WordPress was released in 2003 and has had regular releases ever since. This means that you can depend on it to be there for the long term. You're not going to build your site, and in a year or 2 or 5, have it just disappear on you. WordPress will be around for a long time, and you can count on it. This class is produced by ostraining.com. OS Training does training for Joomla, Drupal, and of course, WordPress. In this video, we're going to take a look at what's commonly known as a one-click install, or sometimes a quick install. We're looking here at cPanel, which is a very common website administration tool. If it doesn't look familiar to you, that's probably because I'm using the Paper Lantern theme, and you're probably more used to the X3 theme, which you can see here. They work exactly the same tools and everything. I just like the way Paper Lantern looks. So I'm going to switch back to that. And to get to what we want, we can go down to Software and click Quick Install. Or at the top of every cPanel is a search feature. And all you have to do is begin typing what you want. So I typed a Q and I have everything with a Q in it. QUI gets me only quick install. So I'm going to click that. And here we are at another panel which has quite a few one-click installs actually. But the one we want is WordPress right here. And this host offers free option as well as some premium options. And we're going to choose the free option today. So I click Install WordPress. And then it asks just a few questions. They want to know where I want to put it. And I'm going to put it on the only domain name I have here. And for install path, I'm going to leave it blank because I want it right at ntihost.net. Then it wants an admin email, a blog title, an admin user, my first name, and my last name. And that's all there is to it. Just answer those few questions, and then we'll click Install WordPress. At the top you can see my install is running, and then it asks if I want to find a theme, or say, no thanks, I'm a web designer. And already my install is complete. If I click here, it tells me I can go to this address to go to the admin area, and then I have a username and a password. But before doing that, I'm just going to go to the domain name. And there you can see, I have a blog. Let's go to this address, and I'm going to copy this password and log in. And there we are, all logged in. Right here in the at a glance, we can see we're running WordPress 4.4.1, which is the latest, running the 2016 theme, which is the latest theme that was designed to be released with WordPress. Let's take a look under themes. And we can see they also provided us with 2015 and 2014. So if we wanted to switch, we could. And then if we look under plugins, you'll see that it comes with Akismet for anti-spam and Hello Dolly, which is a demo plugin. Now all of these things are default with WordPress. These weren't included because we did a one-click install. Everything else is perfectly normal. It's exactly as if you had installed by hand. And now we can come over here, close the view credentials, and close that. And it's all set. Now there are some upsells here, and you can browse through them and see if you want to have any of those, but you don't really need them. You have a perfectly functional blog after simply filling out that small form. In this video, we're going to take a look at installing WordPress by hand, or over FTP. It's not that complicated. The most tedious part is the time spent uploading the files to your server. So let's take a look at how it works. We're here at WordPress.org, and at the top right there's a Download WordPress button, and right on the front page there's Download WordPress 4.4.1, which is the latest. But if we click Download WordPress, you'll see you can choose here between the zip and the tar file. You probably want the zip file, but there are some other options over here. You could get old versions, nightly builds, etc. But we simply want the latest, so I'm going to click Download WordPress. And you can see here it's getting me WordPress 4.4.1. I'm going to save this file in my documents. I'm going to make a new folder called WordPress and put it in there. Now, I'm going to open that folder, and there's my zip file. So we want to unpack this. In most operating systems, you simply double-click it. And there we are. We have a folder called WordPress. And there are all the files you need. Now that we have it on our own machine, before we upload it, we want to get a database set up. I'm here looking at cPanel, which is a common website administration tool. And from here, we can create Mysql Databases. There's a wizard here, and then there's the Databases button. Let's do the wizard. There are only a couple questions. So we have to name our database, nav underscore something. Your prefix will be different based on your own username. And I'm simply going to call mine WP like is suggested. The next step is to create a username. So I'll just say Topher. And a password. And you could use the generator or you could make something up. I'm just going to make something up. And now I click Create User. And now we have to add the user to the database with whatever privileges we want. And I'm just going to choose all privileges. And that's it. We're done. Now if we go to the MySQL Databases tab, you'll see how easy it was to do it from here as well. We could have simply created a new database, and then down here, add that user, and then down here, add that user to the database. But the wizard made it a little smoother. So now we have a database called nav_WP, and the user is nav_Topher. So now we need to get our WordPress files from our own machine, where we downloaded it a few minutes ago, up to the server. I'm going to use an app called CyberDuck, which is just a regular FTP client. You can use any FTP client that you're comfortable with. So I'm going to open a connection. And then I click Connect. And this host does not offer a secure connection. So we're going to send our password in the clear. And this is the root directory of our website. And we want to put our things in public HTML. So now we simply drag everything over there. And you should upload this however your FTP client works. It might be by dragging it like I did, or you might have 2 panels or whatever. And now you can see all of our files are uploaded. So now let's go back to our web page, which was empty, and reload. And now we're starting our famous WordPress 5-minute install. Well, I'll choose English. Hit continue. And we're going to need our database name, username, password, and host. And then table prefix if we want to run more than one WordPress on a single database. So let's go. The database name was nav_WP. Username was nav_Topher. And I typed in my super secret password. The database host is localhost. In this case, it is not always. There are some hosts where they have an actual domain name, and you'll need to get that from your host. And then a table prefix. You get to make this up. It can be anything. So I'm going to make it zoo and submit. It says, all right, Sparky, you've made it through this part of the installation. WordPress can now communicate with your database. That's actually a fact. We wouldn't have gotten this far if we'd had the wrong database connection. So you know if you've made it this far, you have the right database stuff. So let's run the install. All right, now WordPress is installed, and I need to do just a little bit of configuration. It's Topher's blog. My username is Topher. And for now, I'm going to choose to discourage search engines from indexing this site because it's not ready yet. It's not live. And then I click Install WordPress. And there we are. WordPress has been installed. Were you expecting more steps? Sorry to disappoint. Now we click Login. And I put in Topher and my password. And there we are. We're at the dashboard. If I go to the front of the site, you'll see I'm running the 2016 theme. And you can see that here as well. WordPress 4.4.1 running 2016 theme. Search engines discouraged. If we take a look at appearance, you'll see that it comes with 2015 and 2014. And in plugins, you'll see that it comes with Akismet for anti-spam, and Hello Dolly is a demonstration plugin. Our install is complete. WordPress is done and ready to go. You can do anything you want to it now. As I mentioned, the most tedious part was uploading all those files. The rest was simply filling out some pretty simple forms. In this video, we're going to take a look at setting up WordPress on your own computer, as opposed to a server out on the internet. There are a number of reasons why you'd want to do this. One is speed. When you're loading a website that's right on your own computer, it's very, very fast. Another is that it's really easy to set up a new WordPress install, mess around with it, try some things, and then just delete it and start over. And lastly, you can do all of this without really being on the internet at all. You could do it at the lake house with no internet access at all. Let's take a look at how we're going to do this. We're going to go to serverpress.com, and these folks make a product called Desktop Server. Desktop Server makes it very, very easy to simply spin up a WordPress website on your own machine. It turns your own computer into a server. Now, other people out on the internet cannot access it. It's localhost only. So that means you can do things that you might not want people to see out on the internet. It's available for Windows and Mac, and we'll go over a couple of the features here. There's a free version and a pay version. And here you can see some of these features are only in the premium version. But the free version lets you create a locally installed WordPress site in seconds. It's cross-platform. It's the only WordPress optimized local AMP stack. There are lots of software packages that will let you turn your own computer into a web server. But this is the only one that's designed specifically for WordPress. And you'll see the advantage of that in a few minutes. If you get the premium version, you get support for Dreamweaver Live and Coda. The free version has custom configuration with blueprints, which means that you can create a WordPress install, get all kinds of custom configurations, and then save that so that you can spin it up later. That way, if you have a common testing environment, you can recreate it over and over again. Premium has direct deploy to live site, so you can just push a button and your site goes to the live server. Multi-site, create and manage unlimited with Premium. The free one only does 3 sites at a time. And there are also some developer plugins, and they do have great support. I'm not going to go over the install in this video because it is exactly the same as every other app on your platform. If you're using Windows, double-click the exe file and it'll install. If you're on a Mac, double-click the DMG file, drag it to the Applications folder, and it's ready to go. So let's take a look at how it works. On my Mac, here it is in my Applications folder. And right after it fires up, it asks for system privileges because it's actually going to install some system services. So I hit Next, and now it wants my password. And we want to start Apache and MySQL. Here are some other things we could turn on at the same time, and we're not really going to go over them, but I wanted to point out airplane mode. That's pretty slick. WordPress will often want to try to talk to the internet. Airplane mode turns that off and says, I'm not online, so don't even try. But I am online, so I'm going to leave that unchecked. So we want to start Apache and MySQL. And now they're started. And now my machine is running as a web server. I don't have any websites though. So here are our options, and the middle one is what we want. Create a new development website. So I click Next, and I create a site name. And you'll note my only extension is .dev. You can't make .com or .org or any of those. Only .dev. So just for fun, I'm going to make topher.dev. And next we pick a blueprint. The blueprints I have available right now are blank, non-WordPress, which would give me a website but with nothing on it. And we don't want that. And then I can install with WordPress 4.3.1, which is not the latest version of WordPress, but that's okay, and I'll show you why in a minute. So then it's going to make a website in this folder. My Macintosh hard drive, users, Topher, sites, topher.dev. And I can show you how that works in a few minutes. You could choose to browse and put it somewhere else if you want, but it's easiest just to leave the default. So now we hit create. There, now it's done. Now I'm going to hit reload and watch how fast the site reloads. That was it. Just like that. You didn't even see it. So now I go to /wp-admin and I log in You can get the default username and password from the documentation on the desktop server site. Now you'll note right away that there's a new version of WordPress. Now this is a perfectly normal WordPress install. There's nothing really special about it. The fact that it's running on your local machine doesn't change anything in regards to WordPress. So I'm simply going to click Update. And there we are. Now I'm at the latest version of WordPress. Now at this point you can do anything you want. It's a perfectly normal version of WordPress. You can install plugins, you can install themes, you can set things up, break things, and restart.